It's hard to imagine what life was like in 1874, when the Jenkintown School District opened to its first group of 60 students.
What did those students think?
What did they think about?
What were their hopes and dreams for the future? And did they have any idea that a century and a half later, we would be celebrating their legacy?
In a school district that has become the heart of our community, this is a place.
This is a place.
This is a place like no other.
There is no other place like Jenkintown. It is small and quaint, but at the same time, very big in personality and big in tradition.
I feel like there is a sense of camaraderie with all the students. Everyone is always kind to each other, even if you're not best friends.
I think an outsider would see our community as remarkably close. The relationships that we have formed with parents, with various stakeholders in the district, it's just amazing. The amount of parents that I see at basketball games, at different sporting events that I can go up to, talk to with an ease of almost as a friend is just amazing. I don't think you get that in a lot of other districts. You might have a little pocket here, a pocket there, but the amount of relationships, the closeness of the relationships, I think sets Jenkintown apart from so many other districts around the area, around the country.
From the beginning, Jenkintown was special, a small town with a unique identity, not far from America's birthplace. In 1874, Jenkintown officially became a borough, and the Jenkintown School District was formed that same year, when a school called Abington No. 1 broke away from the Abington School District. This school, at the corner of West Avenue and Cedar Street, educated students in grades 1 through 6. Over the next 30 years, the school grew and expanded, and the first Jenkintown High School diploma was issued in 1906. The turn of the 20th century brought rapid growth and development of new technologies: electricity, telephones, airplanes, cars, and radios. Jenkintown continued to grow in population, and in 1923, a middle high school building was constructed on West Avenue, the same school that stands today. In 1935, fire destroyed the district's original school building, and a new elementary was built across from the high school. It opened its doors in 1937. Nearly 70 years later, in 2005, the district's two school buildings were officially connected when the link was built, closing Highland Avenue between the schools. Through 2 world wars, 2 pandemics, 2 nationwide depressions, and several cultural revolutions, Jenkintown School District has endured. As one of the smallest and highest achieving school districts in Pennsylvania, covering just a half square mile, the district continues to be distinct, a place where generations return to raise their own families. A closely knit community with unique traditions like Color Day, dating to 1938. A small town place with big ambitions and opportunity, where everyone knows everyone and is proud to be a Drake.
Crazy. Color Day, it would be described as crazy. It's something you wouldn't really be able to imagine. You would have to be there to experience it. It's a once in a lifetime type thing. It's like only in Jenkintown. You couldn't find it anywhere else.
I was new to Jenkintown 14 years ago, and I'll never forget my first red-blue contest. It was something like I've never seen before. The streets were lined with the parents, former graduates, neighbors, people that don't even have an affiliation with the school. They were decked out in their red or blue, and that's when I knew this is something different. And that sort of pride, I think, extends itself to all areas of this district.
I think when I think of what makes Jenkintown unique is I think there are these aspects of tradition that continue to get passed along from generation to generation. but the people that work here, the people that support our schools are always looking for us to move things forward, kind of with an innovative lens, but never lose sight of what makes Jenkintown unique, be it Color Day, be it kind of the relationships our students have with their staff members and families that have had generations go through.
One of our favorite pictures we have is it's all of us, my dad, my sister, my brother, and I, and then my 2 kids. We're all wearing our appropriate color, and then we're holding up a sign with the year we graduated on it. So that's just a picture that we all have.
Jenkintown School Board member Nancy Campbell's family has lived in Jenkintown for more than 100 years, and 3 generations have graduated from the district.
It is Smalltown Americana at its finest. And I think the greatest visual of that is Color Day. To see those lines of reds and blues and the flags and stuff coming down the hill and having everybody, the reds are screaming at the blues are screaming at the reds, and let's go reds and let's go. It's this sea of red and blue coming down the hill and then splitting and going around the track to where they sit. It's Smalltown Americana at its finest.
And that small town feel is what draws people back to Jenkintown, year upon year. Former school board member Murray Levin lives just across the street from the school and works as a substitute teacher in Jenkintown.
I think that I am a little bit of an unofficial Jenkintown historian. The experience, we describe it, and for some people this will be an old reference, and for other people it'll make complete sense. We describe it as like a Norman Rockwell kind of experience growing up in small-town America, but students really do love it here. And like my son, many of them look to move back to Jenkintown, including my backyard neighbors. Their children are living here now and their grandchildren, and it's just a really common occurrence here.
The class of 1974 graduated during the school district's 100th anniversary, and several members of the class have joined in celebrations for the 150th. When they return to the district, they say the memories come flooding back.
I gotta tell you, we stood over by the track, and I ran track. So I watched these guys doing the 220 and the 100 and the 440 and the mile, and those were my races. So I was cheering on our Reds and imagining myself running in the race. And you can hear the sound of the cinders, and I remember that sound. It all came back, all of that came back.
When you grow up in a small town like this, so I still come back to this town when I dream. So I knew every street in this town. I mean, it's not hard, it's a mile square. And you know, you've ridden your bike on every street multiple times. And I'll be in my dreams, I'll be riding a bike around the town. Happens to me all the time.
And when you're cheering for the school, we know we're not the biggest, but we try the hardest. Hi, this is Bill Bergen, and this is my wife, Donna. Just the camaraderie, because when we were done school, we always had our friends close by. If it wasn't one person, it was somebody else that was available, and you can walk to their house. It's not like you needed a car, you know? I mean, I lived a half a mile away from my wife. I lived on one side of town, she's on the other, and she never walked over to see me. I had to walk over to see her.
In both 1951 and 52, Jenkintown's men's basketball team won the state title, and in the early 1970s, alumni Carl Cruz, class of 1974, also made basketball history for Jenkintown. Today, he lives just miles from the district and continues to stay in close touch with classmates and even some former teachers.
There's a lot of pride in this town, and it really is a kind of a unique spot outside of a major city where it's you don't get kind of a public school that's as private as this is. I think the best part of growing up in Jenkintown was the independence that you had. Being a town where you could walk everywhere. There's no school buses or whatever. From the time you're maybe 8 or 9 years old, you're walking to school. And so that made you feel like an adult, like you were in charge of your life.
Ask any Jenkintown student, past or present, and they'll tell you that relationships are everything.
I think the classmates, everybody's just very nice at the school, and everybody knows each other, so it's like you'll say hi to somebody in the hallway that's in like 5 grades above you.
I think we have a very tight community and everyone's very close inside and outside of school. I think that a lot of families are very close, like me and my family, we are getting very close with other families.
We have a tradition before graduation where, we have a graduation rehearsal where the students in the senior class give each other a gift. And a lot of times there is a lot of inside stories or whatnot, but it speaks to how close they are as a group and they just enjoy those times together.
I'm a lifer, yep, been here since kindergarten. I think there's a big sense of community here. Everyone is very close to each other and everyone knows everyone. You know everyone's parents know you. It's kind of, it's very nice to just kind of have that sense of community. Like when I'm at graduation and I'm looking at all of my friends around me, everyone in white or in suits, looking up at the stadium with all of our parents and friends and teachers, I think it'll be nice to know that I grew up with all of these people and everyone around me I've known for so long and I've become so close to. I think it's really those relationships that I'll remember.
Local librarian, Jenkintown graduate, and now author Marion Rosenbaum recently wrote a book about the history of Jenkintown. She says that in Jenkintown, teaching is more than a job. It's a passion and always has been.
When I studied the early teachers here in the 20s, 1929, there was a single woman by the name of Margaret Buck. She married shortly thereafter, became Mrs. Margaret Frankenfield, and she taught in the 30s, in the 40s, in the 50s, in the 60s, and she only died recently, and she was my 8th grade science teacher. And what I learned as I studied yearbooks was that once a teacher came to Jenkintown, she or he stayed. It was not a job, it was a career. And the Jenkintown faculty and the principals and the superintendents bonded in such a unique way as family that I found very unique to other school districts.
It is really special to be a teacher here. It feels like the strongest sense of community that you can imagine. Everyone knows everyone, and everyone has a stake in the kids' education. At some point or another, they've had the student, or they will have them. They have had their family. They know them well, and they know what they need, and there's a real bond then between people, I feel.
You can't walk down the hallway on any given day without getting stopped maybe 10 times and asked for a hug. And I'm pretty sure you can't find another profession where that would happen. People should really celebrate about Jenkintown as we reach this milestone, the things that make us unique. The students' ability to participate in anything that they want, whether it be an extracurricular club or a sport, no matter whether they've played it or not. And they can be in the drama club, they can play an instrument for the band, they can really do whatever they want here, and I think that makes us special.
So I think that every student, every child has the ability to find their significance here. And that is what's really important. Their uniqueness, they can express themselves, and there's a spot for everybody. And as we went through school, we could name, even to this day, all 83 people that graduated with us in 74, and we could all name an attribute of each one of those students and how important they were to the overall class and just how great a human beings they really were.
Looking back, alumni like Nancy Campbell says it's important to remember that even though Jenkintown is a very special place, it has not been immune from the challenges that our nation has faced.
Things have not always been the way they are. There are people who had to pay a price for things to be the way they are now. don't take it for granted, because it wasn't always this way. You have the luxury of being able to enjoy certain privileges, and everybody hadn't always been able to do that.
There is so much to be learned, and if I can put in a plug for the Old York Road Historical Society, there is what I call raw data, which has never been published, which can be dug out, and which is what I have tried to put in my book, to publish pictures that have not been published before, to tell stories that have not been told before.
There have been some essays written by students, some excerpts from the 100-year reunion of Jenkintown that talks about what it was like 100 years ago, what it was like 50 years ago to actually be a resident or a student or even a teacher here in Jenkintown. And although some of their problems are different, we were kind of in our own little bubble, but yet it was really representative of what was happening out there in the world. And to think about that is, goes beyond the reading, writing, and arithmetic. It really speaks to basic needs, right, of individuals. It speaks to feeling safe and a sense of belonging. It speaks to mental health. And I think just like all those things were really important, 100 years ago, 50 years ago, they're just as important today.
Superintendent Dr. Jill Takis spent a summer archiving old photos and records of the district's history, framing them and placing them prominently in the district's lobby. The district maintains an impressive archive of historic yearbooks and other memorabilia.
So they're part of creating this wonderful legacy. They're part of creating this history, and that's pretty powerful. And I would venture to think that the students who were writing those letters in that time capsule 50 years ago really, wrote about what was going on, but they didn't give much thought to who would be reading it in the future, how it would be interpreted in the future. So I think thinking about how the students here fit on that continuum of history is pretty cool, and that they can actually be a part of the Jenkintown legacy.
I think the history for the kids to realize that 150 years is a big deal, is to understand that they're a part of it. It takes a village, and it takes all of us to build this community. And some amazing people have come from this school. I think my thoughts or advice to any current students, just soak it up and understand where you're coming from and what you're a part of.
They are going to be part of this long continuum of history here. They're just one cog in that wheel. And I think that if students do realize the legacy of what Jenkintown has produced both in our area and around, even the country. Students have gone to different parts of our world from Jenkintown and done great things. I think if they realize 150 years embedded in them and can, realize that they are part of posterity, they're going to do great things. So I think that's important.
When I look through these yearbooks, I think about, a lot of things. One of the things that stands out the most is their nicknames. Like one of our guys in these yearbooks, his name is Charles, but his nickname was Pebble. And, I want to know a lot more about these nicknames back then. Like, how did they originate? Was it the whole school that called you that? Was it maybe just your friends? Was this, thing that started in the school, maybe before you came? There's just such a story behind that.
Yeah, I think it's impossible not to look at the nostalgia and look at those banners in the gym or the photos that you talk about and wonder who these people are. And I know that when the alumni come back and they do the all-class reunions, they love to look at those photos. They love to reminisce about the stories and the color days and the graduations and the red-blue quizzes and fairs and those things that make this place special.
If the class of 150 years ago could walk the halls today, I think that they would be proud of the students' tenacity and perseverance. We've experienced a lot of challenges in education, in recent years following the pandemic, COVID, and the fact that they always rise above and they're willing to make the best of any situation.
My hope for any alumni is, number one, remember those warm fuzzies that everybody has about Jenkintown. Everybody's got something. remember the good things that you treasure from here, and make some kind of contribution, monetary, in kind, time, something. Choose to do that for the next generation, because that's the only way it's going to happen. You know what it meant to you. Pay that forward.
Our parents and even our grandparents have walked these halls, just like us. It's where we've shared laughter, cheered each other on, and built memories that last a lifetime. We are proud to be a part of something so special. This school district is more than just classrooms. It's our home. It's a place where everyone matters and where our successes and challenges are both shared and celebrated. We compete, but we come together. Here, it's about community, and we are so lucky to be a part of something so special.
Partial funding for this film was made available by the Gillespie family in remembrance of Kevin Gillespie, class of 1984, their dear father, husband, uncle, and brother. Kevin brought his big heart, grown in Jenkintown, everywhere he went, as he does in memory, even to this day.